Hey everyone, hope you've been doing well. I hope you read the title because, you know, that is going to be the main focus of this video. It's the main focus of this warped hellscape. And more to the point, it's the main focus of the people, of the ruling class, right? Like, honestly, firstly, like, shout out to the prison called Life. His channel is so, like, it's so straightforwardly named, right? The prison called Life, right? One of my favorite channels to watch. And to me, it's not only just life that is the prison. I don't even think life itself is necessarily the prison. It's wealth. It's chasing wealth. That is the prison that we live in. And even if you are wealthy, you aren't anything more than like a glorified prison warden of your own wealth, right? But the wealth, right? Wealth itself is a prison, and you are the prison warden, right? Because we can, whatever makes somebody wealthy is very subjective. It's incredibly subjective, right? We're all chasing money, this, money, that. Today it's money. Tomorrow it takes one call from the Federal Reserve of whoever the fuck, and it's toilet paper. And all this money you've accumulated and chased after will mean nothing. That is how easy it is. And people really don't think it is, oh, it just can't happen. Like, it can, it has, and it has happened several times. You know? What do you think what do you think happens when a country gets toppled, when a government gets toppled, or a country gets invaded and occupied? The ruling powers dictate what happens in that country. They dictate what matters and what's valuable and what's not. And, just so we understand what wealth is, I guess, you can talk about it in terms of land, property, minerals, all that kind of stuff, right? Which we all still ascribe that subjective value to. Even so, right? Just go with old money, for example. Let's go with old money. Old money are families who have had like wealth for centuries, if not millennia. You look at the monarchies. These monarchies have always had all the power, all the influence, all the money, right? Or most of it, anyways. They didn't actually have a lot of money for colonization, believe it or not. And that's when corporations came around, right? Because in actuality, colonization is incredibly expensive. It is. Because you have to factor in like where exactly you're invading and how long it's going to take and how many soldiers you need, blah blah blah. And then you're also going to have to factor in what you're going to do with that land you've occupied. This the administration costs and everything. It is genuinely. I'm not like defending like I would hope I'm not defending colonialism. I don't think I'm a big fan of it if you've watched my channel even a little bit, but it was expensive to the point where uh, 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 kingdoms would have to not lease out, sorry. They would have to license out, they call, they call them charters basically. So, like the king would give a particular company a charter to literally colonize or trade on behalf of the king, right? For example, like the Virginia Company, the British East India Company, I think. Yeah, Dutch East India, so on and so forth. These companies, these corporations really became as powerful, if not more powerful, than the kingdoms that they were serving, right? And it's only until it became too much of a cost for them that they ended up selling the assets over to the, the countries now, the kingdoms, right? Like for a lot of old money families, their money can be traced back to these like literally these corporations, right? A lot of truly old money families. And the thing is, like, their generations have just been born to just hoard, like, continue just hoarding all the power and the wealth, right? That's imagine that you're just born to be like a tool for dead people. That's essentially what you're doing. You're a tool to preserve what dead people have been able to more or less steal and exploit from this world. And this isn't me saying like I feel bad for rich people, right? It's more just observing how, you know, this is the wealth we are all chasing. We're all chasing, like, and it's not like we want to, right? But to escape, literal hunger, homelessness, and all that, you have to pursue some level of sustainable wealth or sustained wealth. And yet these people are incredibly damaged. They have no they have no need for a personality, right? They have no need for genuine connections because money just solves everything for them. Like a lot of celebrities' children are probably even worse off in that sense because like they're not like, let's say, like Will Smith's children or I don't know, Denzel Washington's children, all these famous actors or whatever. They will never reach the heights that their parents did or their grandparents did. But they have all the money and they literally have all the money and the fame in the world that comes along with it, right? But if you actually wanted to do something, you genuinely wanted to, or like you were genuinely passionate about, unless you are really, really good at it, no one's gonna take you seriously. They'll just look at you like some rich kid, and you literally are some rich kid. It is what it is. I can't really feel so much sympathy for them as opposed to like the people who are like pretty much being brutalized essentially to manufacture a lot of these conveniences, and the more convenient and illustrious they are, the more they're consumed by this ruling class. And this is the crazy thing: we understand crime as being a result of like poor living conditions, like poverty, abusive households, you name it. But the wealthier you are, like it is really the wealthy who commit the most crimes because they fund the most crimes, right? If you own massive industries and you can just clear off like hundreds of or thousands of acres of forest, and you can just displace people off their land as you see fit, is that not criminal, right? Is that not criminal? And in turn, hoarding all this wealth, it also makes you want to hoard all this power over people, right? Power itself, it's the concept, or how we understand power itself, is just, it's incredibly futile. It's incredibly futile, and it's one reason why, as much as we have so many technological improvements happening, and even like prolonging lifespan, even though I don't know why the fuck you want to do that, the danger of that is that it's happening under this current system. This current system is way more exploitative than it has ever been because now there's a digital world. Can you really die in a digital world, Can you ever really truly be erased from a digital world? This world itself might be digital. I don't know. And, to add to that, right? I thought I made a video on this, but it's fine. We curate our own prisons. We curate our own, we are the curators of our own prisons, right? You create the conditions to keep yourself somewhat as comfortable as possible for the duration that you have to be here, right? You have just enough freedom to curate just how you're going to spend your miserable fucking existence here. Because think about it, you all these big corporations advertise to us like, this is about you, this is about, enriching your life, making your moments worthwhile, blah blah blah, and yet it's just some like like you could just dress up like a gray block of nothingness with a corporate suit, and that's who is signing off on these advertising campaigns, right? They don't care as long as green line go up, right? And it's to and why should we then why do people rush to make themselves prisoners like this? And I've seen it so many damn times. I don't even. That's why I don't even pity people who chase wealth. I don't pity them at all. Like, no matter how miserable they turn out as a result, I don't pity them because it's futile. It's literally futile. What is considered wealth could flip in an instant, right? If we, the people, all decided that cardboard was money, who's going to stop us, right? If people just decided to start trading cardboard, literally cardboard box, like just cut off 1 metric unit of cardboard and use that as money instead, what are they going to do? I mean, heck, the government itself could just decide that, tomorrow the $50 note and the $20 note are no longer usable money, right? What are you going to do? There is never going to be a fixed definition of wealth that lasts for like, you could say wealth is it's accumulating the total sum of like, wealth is accumulating the total sum of, let's say, labor, for example, right? Because the value comes from labor ultimately. Like, the dumb fuck economists they'll try and obfuscate it over and over and over again, but ultimately it's the value of the labor that somebody puts into creating a product. That's what makes it valuable, right? No matter what it is, even if it's freaking rocks from underneath the earth, somebody has to dig them up, right? Until they're dug up, they don't really, until they're dug up, processed, all that, they're worthless, right? And gold is actually really not that rare of an element on the planet, but yet it still has people in a mental vice grip. So we're basically just born to be the prison wardens of like our either our parents or our grandparents' wealth, or if you somehow make your own, now you'll be the prison warden, and then you pass that. That is the legacy you pass on to your children. That's the legacy you pass on to them. That's what keeps people trapped here. This idea of wealth. It's such a backward idea of wealth giving you freedom, and yet wealth traps you. Wealth puts you in another socioeconomic class that if you're seen interacting with like the peasants and the poors down here, unless you're doing it for like a charity event or something, it'll harm your image, you know? I'm so fortunate in that I've been able to either make friends or have connections with people from like, different backgrounds, different like economic backgrounds as well, and it's one reason why I can't really judge somebody for their upbringing. You really can't. You can't judge someone from their upbringing, for their perspectives and everything, you know. Though there are things, though now where I tend to where I tend to disagree, I guess, to disagree with people, or to have a point of contention, is when people try to sell me the ideas that are intrinsic to them and expecting me to take them wholesale, because I will never do that. I will never do that. Like I constantly question literally every day. I question what I believe, what I hold to, right? So it's almost like, and it's you know it's almost it's almost as much as a of a prison as being yourself, because being yourself is such a lie that this reality continues to push. There's a lot of people, if they actually if they actually acted as themselves, if they behaved as themselves, the people who say that would be the ones basically shaming them back into their corner. Most people don't actually want other people to be themselves, because when somebody expresses that type of individuality, they realize, individuality means whatever the fuck anyone wants it to mean. Whatever the fuck somebody wants it to mean, that is what individuality is. And a lot of people just aren't ready to drop the conformity. They're just not ready to drop the conformity mind virus. So we're just left, you know, and in terms of you being the prison warden, guess who the prisoners are? They're your children. You have created this wealth, and now you're the prison warden, but then you need prisoners, right? You as a prison warden, you're not trapped there. You can just be like, fuck this, I'm done, right? But no, you have to have prisoners to justify why you're the prison warden of your own wealth, right? And who better than the children? It's such an ass backwards system we live in, to be honest. And that's why I personally, I strive to just, if I'm hungry, I'm like, I'll just find food or something. If I'm thirsty, I'll find food, find something to drink or something. If the urge happens, I'll relieve the urge, right? But it's never like pursuing anything more than what I necessarily need, because I've found that people think they replenish themselves by doing certain things rather than thinking certain ways, if that makes sense. I always say that I fill my own cup. That's why even being around people who are just draining or whatever, or like just like insufferable to be around, it doesn't necessarily affect me as much as it should, because I'm so used to filling my own cup, right? I don't know how I got to this stage. I don't know, maybe it's just me naturally, but I think it more has to also do with the fact that I stay by myself all the time. But I've just learned to replenish whatever it is that keeps me going, right? Just so I don't have to be like some reluctant prison warden for like kids who didn't even ask to be here, essentially.